James, this quarantine, we're doing a lot of self-evaluating. Like, how can we learn and grow so that way when we come out on the other side of quarantine, we're better as people, we're better as podcast hosts.
I mean, everyone should be doing that, not just us. But, we can only control this side of the mic.
I will say something that we could work on. We tend to be kind of late on stuff. Now, if you listened last week, faithful listener, you would know that, we were a bit late with DC FanDome. So to make up for it, we are going to go ahead and be a month early for Halloween. This is going to be an episode completely filled with horror trailers and also Dune.
I mean, we're not the only ones. I mean, Starbucks got in on that, pumpkin spice latte stuff.
Hell yeah, they did. I've had 2 of them so far.
You see all those memes that people are just like, it's Halloween time. Let's frickin' rage.
As our culture moves a bit more secular, it's like we all make jokes about how Christmas always starts way, way too early. And I was just sitting to the point where we're, I think, all coming together and acknowledging, you know what? Fuck it. Halloween can be in September too.
And Halloween's fun. Name a more fun holiday.
Unless you are Laurie Strobe's neighbor. Yes, it's a really fun holiday.
So why not get excited about it early? Starbucks is doing it. The basic people out there are doing it. I'm basic. Let's do it, Kevin. Let's get on Halloween.
You can't haul your stuff without a trailer hitch. Trailer hitch.
Releases by the movie trailers. We're trailer hits. This movie might totally suck, but the whiskey sure is going down fine. Yeah, we're trailer hits.
Boo! To anyone who doesn't listen to Trailer Hitch. Hi, welcome to Trailer Hitch. I'm Kevin.
I'm James, and I'm just still shaking in my boots from that scare that Kevin just did. Oh.
This is Trailer Hitch, where we rate and review movie trailers. We rate them on a scale of need to see more, or never need to see. If James and I both give a trailer a need to see rating, we celebrate. Then we go see the movie, report back to you guys on a segment called Trailer in the Review, in which we review the movie and also talk about the trailer in retrospect and see how they compare. Now, admittedly, these days, yes, go see a movie is a far shorter walk because we're just going to our couches and we're streaming it. If we really like it, paying the $20 for the early entrance fee.
If you forgot about the drive-in has been making a comeback, and I am for it.
Yeah, and how would you say a drive-in is for a first-time viewing experience? Because I went and saw Get Out at a drive-in recently, and that was really fun, but at the same time, I was really glad that I had already seen the movie, just because picture quality was kind of ugh.
So here are my recommendations when you're seeing a drive-in movie. If it's a movie you've already seen before and you love it, go see it at the drive-in. It's just a cool experience. You already know everything. You're just going there for the fun environment of it. Mm-hmm. If you've never seen it before, it's still worth going if, I would say, at least 75% of the movie is in the daylight. The shadows and the stuff without light is really hard to see at a drive-in. So that's really tricky. So you want there to be a lot of daytime scenes or not underwater scenes, which Jenny and I found out during The Meg. And then lastly, the audio quality isn't great either. So if you're going in being I want to see this giant blockbuster that's going to have this incredible sound design, don't go to see a drive-in. So Jenny and I usually stick to just goofball comedies, family-friendly comedies, or horror movies that are usually not all the time in nighttime.
That's fair. Okay. Well, thank you for the tips. Hopefully our listeners will take heed. And, if we're talking about movies with great sound design and impeccable visuals, but filled with a lot of shadows, that is going to lead into our first trailer. If there were ever a movie that, according to James, you should not see at a drive-in, that's looking like Dune. But let's take a look at this trailer and verify.
There's a crusade coming.
Do you often dream things that happen just as you dreamed them?
Yes.
The test is simple. Remove your hand from the box, and you die.
What's in the box?
Pain.
All right, folks, reach into your box and don't pull your hand out, because what's in this box is the trailer for Dune. This is Dune. This is directed by Denise. Help me out here, James. Is it Villeneuve?
Villeneuve.
Vill- He's the guy who directed Arrival and Prisoners.
And Blade Runner 2049, which is incredible.
Indeed, indeed. The script is co-written by him, John Spaeth, and Eric Roth. This is starring Timothée Chalamet, Jason Momoa, David Bautista, Zendaya, Josh Brolin, Oscar Isaac, Stellan Skarsgård, Javier Bardem, Charlotte Rampling. Our random shout-out, because we here at Trailer Hitch like to give random shout-outs to cast and crew members, because the top-billed people tend to hog all the credit. So we are going to give a shout-out to Ahmad Komako, who is the 3rd AD 2nd Unit in Jordan. Hey, Ahmad, thanks for 3rd ADing that movie, bud. So, usually when we start talking about a trailer, we go into what it's about. We give you like a little flavor for like the story. Now here's the deal. I have not read Dune, and so I'm going to really squint and say an heir to a royal family is having his family picked off one by one in a war, and he must rise to the occasion of knocking that shit off. He can also see the future, seems to really miss oxygen bars given the little nozzle thing in his nose, and he seems cool with putting his hand in a box of what I presume is a copy of The Room. So, that is more or less what we're getting. Also, it's insane visually. And the first thing I'll say is this is kind of a weird axis because it is trying to cram in a lot of plot to get people like me who just know that one, Dune exists, and two, people talk about Dune a lot. But it's also deliberately for fans of the novel, because if you would ask me, I'd be like, oh yeah, there's a giant space worm with a sphincter for a mouth. That looks pretty neat, I guess. But based on the internet's reaction, I know that butt mouth is like a massive part of the story, and it's so cool seeing them. So I trying to grapple this trailer because it does seem like it's trying to have its cake and eat it too. Or it's trying to have its butt mouth and eat it too. But James, what are you thinking so far?
I mean, you're not wrong. I've never read the novel. I've never seen the David Lynch film from the 80s, I want to say.
Yeah, 80s or 90s, something around there.
So I'm completely in the dark when it comes to Dune. I mean, I know it's sci-fi. I know it's not sci-fi in the same way that Star Trek is, where it's like, oh, people came from Earth and now they expanded elsewhere. It's more like Star Wars, where it's like, it's a different world. I know there's dunes, I know there's sand, and I know there's sandworms. That's really all I knew going into the trailer. And you're not wrong. Like, you can tell there's like a lot of shorthand when you're trying to play towards an audience that already knows this stuff. And I think this trailer has that kind of stuff in it. But I think it's edited in a way where you said have your sphincter worm face and eat it too, right? For me, I did eat that sphincter worm face too. I'm trying to keep going with this analogy you gifted me, and it's beautiful. It's a thing of beauty, but I'm having a hard time like saying it correctly.
If I read on the internet, I think it's telepathic. Maybe I guess we can say that you've read my mind. I want to see it, but yeah. I don't know the source material, so this is really hard for me.
I did, knowing that, okay, this is clearly like made for people who really like this source material or the 80s movie. I still like ate this up, man. I thought it was a really well-made trailer. It was weird. Absolutely, it was weird. You know, it's like he puts his hand in the box with Gwyneth Paltrow's head in it, and it's like, oh yeah, I'd be screaming too. Pretty crazy, man. Got goop all over it. Am I right? Am I right?
She's got all those crazy products.
You get it. You guys get it. I thought it was a really well done trailer. I think the score was super interesting and different and unique.
It does sound very alien, which is really cool.
Yeah, but there's like a choir to it. Like there is some sort of choir, not right away. I think later on in the trailer, like a choir comes in, and that's a nice touch because normally when we hear a choir, Kevin, it's usually a choir cover of like a pop song
or Nirvana,
fucking Nirvana. And this just seemed like your fucking Duel of the Fates from Star Wars: The Phantom Menace. It's like, no, this is just an original score, but we used a choir, and I'm like, that's a cool sound. Like, that sells me on the scope of this movie. The scope does not fall short, but when it comes to what is this movie about, you're right, Kevin. It does play on the vague side. There is some sort of like royalty family conflict. And that's all very general. And clearly, this son, I think he was called the Duke. He's clearly our main character. So he's not like the ruler, but he's clearly being groomed to rule. I don't know. I guess I feel like I'm rambling at this point. And that's because I don't feel like I grasped a whole lot, even though this trailer had a whole lot in it, you know?
And I think, especially for me, something that maybe not necessarily threw me off, but something that really took my attention the first couple of times I watched it was how impressive those visuals were. And that's really great because from what I know of the source material, it's nutty. Like, it is a wild, wild book. And it seems really fitting because right now it's like, okay, now we actually have the technology to be able to bring that to light in an artistic yet convincing way. And Denis Villeneuve is absolutely in the top running of people you would want to direct it, just because of how ably that director handles sci-fi. And I think that's really great. But I think something to consider too, I did have to watch this a few times in order to get at least a moderate grasp of what was happening here.
Upon watching it a second time, I think I started to understand the world building a little bit more. So if it didn't have all those beautiful things to it, and I had to watch it a second time to understand that world building, then I would think that's a fault. But I didn't watch it a second time for the sole purpose of trying to understand it better. I watched it a second time because it's fucking beautiful and I wanted to watch it a second time. So I think if you can captivate your audience on one level enough to make them watch it a second time, that's a win. That's a win right there.
I do think that visually it does demand to be seen more than once, just given how rich the visuals are and the color palettes and the little hits of action that we get in the story, to see how that's choreographed. It is really rewarding to watch more than once.
Yeah.
From a story perspective, I think the only thing that tripped my eyebrow was, I think that the arc with Zendaya in the trailer, where we begin with her and Timothée Chalamet, and they're like, we're lovers, and that's rad. And then I got the impression later in the trailer that she's on the opposing side of whatever war they're fighting. I thought that kind of got lost in the shuffle, just given everything else that's happening in the trailer and everything else that's being given to me.
Right.
And as of right now, it does kind of feel like, well, teens love Zendaya, put her in. And that's true. Teens do love Zendaya. But for the purpose of the story that I think is trying to be conveyed in the trailer, it did feel like a lot. And given how dense the information is, I think kind of that just one-off, like, here's your setup for her, here's the payoff a minute and a half later, didn't quite work for me all that well.
I think that's fair. And I don't have any problem with a trailer throwing in just like beauty shots of two people in love and making out and whatever. That kind of stuff goes well in montages, and they make a trailer feel more rounded out. But you're right. The opening of this trailer set up this like Zendaya and this Duke kid. I'm sorry, everyone knows this kid's name except me. What's his name?
Timothy Chalamet.
Timothy Chalamet.
Come on, man. Call him by his name.
I gotta get in on that. All right. So because between the trailer opens up and it's like, oh, you should care about this relationship. This is what it's going to be about. And then the trailer doesn't do anything with that until way later. And then way later, again, it's just kind of like left to a montage. It's like, just keep it in the montage and don't tease us up. Because like you said, maybe that fits in with that aspect that book readers are excited about that. And it's like, for me, like, what do I care? You didn't tell me anything about this relationship, you know?
Right. Yeah, and also just given, because we get like the full brunt of the cast in one standalone title card. I'm pretty sure we don't see Javier Bardem in the trailer, for example. So it's like, we know that this is going to be a very dense film and a really expansive cast. And, well, I should have looked up. Maybe Javier Bardem plays Buttmouth. But otherwise, this is going to be a very dense film. And my thing right now isn't necessarily, ooh, boo, shame on the trailer. But just given what I know about the source material, how hard it is to adapt, because I know David Lynch is reportedly incredibly unhappy with how his version came out. There's an entire documentary of Jodorowsky, who is a really, really out there filmmaker, attempting to make his own adaptation of Dune that never went through.
Oh, wow.
And I know that this is incredibly difficult source material to adapt just in its inherency. So to say, now sell it in 2.5 minutes in a trailer seems like a really monumental ask for this trailer. I'm not necessarily shaking my fist at it. I'm more so just kind of nodding and saying, yeah, I can understand why this would be hard to sell in a trailer. And ideally, I'll be able to know the full extent of that once I see this movie, because I am definitely interested in seeing this movie. But the question is it because of the trailer? And for me, just based off of this trailer, the visuals are gorgeous. But because the story in the trailer is pretty out there, and we have so many bits and so much lore about Dune being thrown at me, while also trying to give me like this little mini love arc. And then all of a sudden Buttmouth shows up, and I know that's supposed to be a big deal, but I don't know why because of this. And I'm just operating under the predication right now that COVID will still be a thing when this movie finally comes out. Of course, ideally not the case. But the question I ask myself is, would I be willing to risk permanent lung damage and have to wear a weird nose tube like Timothée Chalamet is wearing in this trailer? And for me right now, it's at a need to see more, but I am very interested, and I'm going to be very curious to see more trailers, and hopefully the movie sometime soon.
Awesome. Like you said, we weren't like shaking our fists at this trailer. For me, it was more like I'm just pointing out why it's not the best trailer ever.
Sure.
Because I did really love this trailer. It was very shallow on plot, and
which that in of itself isn't a deal breaker for me.
Exactly.
But especially because they're giving me so much plot, it's like I can tell I'm supposed to be absorbing all of this, but because it's a trailer and because it's a really dense story, I do feel like sometimes the wires aren't necessarily connecting or getting crossed.
I totally agree with you, but like for me, it was enough, and I just like I absorbed it, and I'm just like I love this so much. Watched it a second time, watched it a third time. Then I was like, oh, I can kind of understand what's happening now with like the families a little bit more. I mean, I still loved it based off of those first like 2 watches, and when a trailer can get me happy and excited to watch it again, I mean, that's usually a great sign for it to be a need to see it for me. And this one is that case. So there you go. Need to see it.
All right. Well, that's what we thought about Dune. We hope that you'll tell us what you think about Dune. But first, we got to go cross country. We have to go cross country. And because it's all horror themed, this is cross crazy country. James and I are going to be packing ourselves up into our car. We're going to be going across the country. We're going to be taking a look at all of the spooky surroundings, the haunted houses. We're mostly going to be stopping in Salem because we have more than one trailer set in that town. So if you are new and are wondering, what is cross country? Cross country is when James and I have multiple trailers that we wanted to talk about, but we didn't want to cut any of them because we think there's something fun to be had with all of them. We want to give them at least some amount of lip service.
Especially if they make a theme for our episode easy.
Yeah, exactly. As easy is the exact word to use. If you can help us drive this out of the park, then we'll take it. Cross country, what we do for this is James and I give ourselves an allotted amount of time to talk about each trailer. So we have 6 trailers in total for you guys today. And we are going to be giving ourselves 5 minutes to talk about each trailer. Ain't that right, James?
That's right. And there's a catch, Kevin, to that.
There is a catch. So we have 6 trailers at 5 minutes apiece. We are giving ourselves 25 minutes to get across country. Now, if you're doing some rough math and realizing, hey, wait a second, that should be 30. Yes, by a math standpoint, that's the case. In this context, though, no, it shouldn't. We're giving ourselves 25 minutes. And this is because James and I I mean, we can be a little bit verbose, but unlike being late, this isn't something we want to curb. It's what makes us us. We like it. We hope you do too. But in an effort to kind of curtail us, to kind of curb us just because we have so much material to talk about, we give ourselves 5 minutes. Now, if we go under 5 minutes with a trailer, we take that time and add it together, and that's how much time we get to talk about the last trailer that we'll be talking about, that 6th trailer. And if James and I go overtime while talking about a trailer, that gives us negative time. So when it comes to our last trailer of the evening, we might have a full 5 minutes to talk about it. We might also have 10 seconds and have to just blurt out what we think as quickly as humanly possible, probably shouting over each other. James, we're going to be getting in this cobweb-filled car, and we're going to be going across crazy country. The first trailer is Mass Hysteria.
Who here's the witch? Just kill her already!
May God give you blood to drink.
All right, so our first trailer is going to be for Mass Hysteria. And just to give you guys the heads up, what I'll be doing is at the top of each review, I will be giving a little mini synopsis. Sometimes like my own little spin is in there. You'll be able to tell, and I'll also let you know if something sounds like I'm fucking with you, I'll note when it's actually true.
Kevin, I'm never able to tell. It just sounds exactly like the actual synopsis every time you're
That's
joking.
the trouble with having a dry sense of humor, is no one can really tell when you're joking or not. And I do accept that about myself. Actually, you know what? No, maybe that's something that I'll try and change. Look at me, I'm goofy! All right, James, are you ready with that timer?
I got my finger on the start button. Let's do it.
We're going to be getting Mass Hysteria in 3, 2, 1... go. Mass Hysteria, an interactive play actor in Salem, curses an audience member as part of the play she's in, but when the guy ends up dying for real, the town begins to suspect that she weighs more than a duck, and therefore, she's a witch! So, as you heard, there's a fuckload of setup there, but aside from the messiness of that, I really do think that concept is a lot of fun, especially because it turns into a series of accidental killings leading to outright brawls. I think this makes for a really funny horror film. But that setup is just as clunky in the trailer, unfortunately. We go super rapid fire in the setup in the trailer, as if the marketing knew that it takes a while to get the full effect of the story, so it tries to speed through all of it. It was jarring in a way that I didn't think really gelled with the intent, and I think it could have been averted if they put in more footage, which I don't think would have been an issue since the trailer was under 2 minutes. But how about you, James? Did you feel like you followed it? Because it felt like, for me, it took a couple of watches before I was like, oh, okay, that's what's going on here.
Oh, yeah, you nailed this on the head. I love this trailer. I really do. Kind of the same way I loved Dune. I just loved a lot of things about it, but there's just like something about it that I'm like, this could have been explained better. Mm-hmm. And like you said, it's just following the snowball effect of said hysteria. It was a little hard to follow. Like it was the guy collapses in front of her during their play, and I was just kind of like, oh, so is she like an actual witch? And she doesn't even know it. And she like enacted this real curse. And then more shit started happening. And then I'm like, well, no, it's maybe the whole thing is just about like, you know, a witch hunt, which is always the point of a witch hunt is there is no basis there. You're all just crazy. Like you're all just acting crazy. As I kept watching the trailer, that was more clear to me by the end of it, but like it felt a little muddled in the middle, and also just like the snowball of like the hijinks that ensued that event was still a little hard to follow. I loved the intro, Kevin. It said like 16 whatever, you know, Salem, Massachusetts.
Yeah.
And then it cut to some close-ups and then acting, and I'm like, this looks like really shitty attempt to be a period piece, because I had no idea what this was about. And then all of a sudden, it's like, oh, they're doing a shitty play in Salem, Massachusetts today. And I'm like, that was a beautiful reveal. Like, it was a perfect reveal in the trailer. That gets A+ through and through. The humor seemed really fun. And then I loved the tag, too, where the guy is just being chased through an alley and he's just like yelling, I don't think you understood the point of the play.
Yes. Yeah, that was really good. The best joke for me was they do inadvertently kill a second person, and it goes to the people who are chasing after them, and he's looking at his phone and just in the flattest way possible says, she's killed again. And I loved how nonchalant that was.
That was really good too. Yeah.
So yeah, like there is really good comedy here. I will also note that the music in this was kind of jarring for me because it does start with a What We Do in the Shadows-esque polka number for the first half, and then it just like right turns into metal. But I think that could have been smoothed over a little bit more.
That's fair. Yeah, nothing really pinged for me with the music in this trailer. It was actually mostly forgettable for me. The humor stood out, the twist at the beginning really stood out, and the button stood out for me. So for me, this was a need to see it, even though it's not perfect, but it was fun enough for me.
Just because we are looking at the trailers, the movie I am definitely really interested in seeing. But just given how clunky that setup is in the beginning and how rushed everything is, this trailer for me is definitely a need to see more. And time!
Stop. Oh, Kevin, you sly dog. We got 3 seconds left.
Oh boy! Okay, cool. Well, we're in the positive.
I was like, when I finished my need to see it, I'm like, oh, there's only 20 seconds left. Let's see if Kevin can wrap this up. And you did wrap it up. Well done. Well done.
Dunked it. Yep. Break the backboard. This is starting to turn out to be a pretty good Halloween, James. Well, let's stay in Salem because the next trailer is also set in Salem. This is Hubbie Halloween.
There's something off in this town.
We get angry?
Happy Hubbie Halloween. All right, so for context's sake, I'll note that Adam Sandler was on the talk show circuit for Uncut Gems. He said that if he didn't get an Oscar nomination, he was going to make a movie that critics would hate. So, making good on his promise is Hubbie Halloween, which is about a man coded as a weirdo, even though he kind of shittily plays it as a guy with like a vague mental handicap that loves Halloween but cries wolf a bit too much at the weird happenings of Salem, Massachusetts. But when weird happenings turn deadly, he's the only one who can save the town. Yeah, sorry, man. I just really didn't find this all that funny. The only real thing that got a chuckle out of me was Salem's radio station being called WTCH. Otherwise, I can understand that the film is trying to show that this weirdo is actually going to be the hero, and I think that would be fine if it wasn't asking for me to laugh at him at the beginning of the film. But how about you? Did you chuckle?
I didn't chuckle a whole lot in this, but I did find it endearing. I didn't look at Adam Sandler as doing like an impression of someone with some sort of handicap. I thought he was just like portraying a very like left of center type of person that we see in our everyday life, that there's not necessarily anything wrong with them. Maybe they're just a little socially awkward. On the scale of like Waterboy and just like your normal punch drunk love Adam Sandler, this steers clear of being offensive. I didn't feel
it's one of those things where like the voice affectation that he's putting on definitely I think is kind of skirting a line a bit.
It's close because it does it reminds you of Waterboy, but it's not. I don't think it's quite there. But
I will say, like, they don't outright code him as being someone with autism. So I'm giving it the benefit of the doubt for right now.
I hope they don't dive more into that on that side of the line. But anyway, I didn't really chuckle a whole lot, but like I said, I did find it endearing. I like Adam Sandler stuff, even the stuff that everyone seems to hate. I mean, don't get me wrong, I have seen Adam Sandler trailers that I went, no, just no. Like Jack and Jill, I'm just like, hard pass. But clearly he makes movies that he has fun making, and I respect the hell out of that, because I wish I could do that, you know? And at the end of the day, there is a lot of people who watch even those movies because they keep having him make them.
Yeah, of course.
I liked the supporting cast. There was a lot of SNL alums in there, which I liked. You know, Tim Meadows and Kenan Thompson was there. Mm-hmm. I love the Happy Gilmore reunion between Adam Sandler and the actress who is now famous for Modern Family. I thought it was it might be like a fun Halloween, just like light movie that I'll turn on. It did not blow me away though.
Yeah, and I think also for me, if the comedy isn't landing, how's like the horror aspect going? And the kills and quotes are mostly people just being like yoinked off camera. And that for me wasn't really all that satisfying either. I'm not necessarily looking for gore, especially within a horror comedy context, but I guess just like a little bit more creativity in what is going on in the town,
Yeah.
I think definitely been appreciated. But again, I mean, and this isn't pejorative, he's like straight up said, yeah, I just like make movies to have fun with my friends. And, you know, like, yeah, you're right. Like, he's clearly doing that here. And to a degree, it's like, yeah, that's the dream. Like, good for him.
Yeah.
But it's a question of whether or not that's for me. And this one definitely isn't. So it's a never need to see.
I don't hate this trailer. I think, like I said, I find it endearing, and I would actually find myself sitting down with like a nice cup of hot chocolate or a bowl of chili or something and watching this just for fun. But it's not great, so it's still a never need to see it for me too. So stop. 13 seconds, Kevin. Add it up.
Oh, wow. Add it up. Okay. We have a sum total of 16 seconds to talk about our last trailer.
Which are we keeping it a secret for everyone?
We're going to keep it a secret for now.
Can I just say, if we get to it and we don't have a whole lot of time, can I ask that you at least tell people what the trailer is, context to it, before we talk about it?
Let's make sure that we give ourselves the time to do that, eh, James?
Okay, you're right. I will try. That is on us. It's completely
that
up to us.
Yes. Hopefully getting freaky will help with that, because this next trailer is freaky. Sorry, that's not an adjective. It's called freaky.
You're black! I'm gay! We are so dead! Ow! Will you stop? It's me, it's Millie! Hail, Blissfield, high, fill our glory and our might.
Freaky. It's Freaky Friday, but spooky. But it's not the horror of a girl recognizing that your joints hurt when you're over 40. Rather, she's murdered by a serial killer only to wake up in his body and realize he's in her body, killing all of her friends. So, having made Groundhog Day spooky, Blumhouse has now taken the next step by looking at Freaky Friday, remembering Jamie Lee Curtis was in a horror movie, and saying, fuck, I got it! But here's the thing. I'm not sick of that. What helps is a balance of self-referential humor that makes it a bit more fun. And bear in mind, sure, some of the humor in here is your quintessential Vince Vaughn twerking to prove he's really a 17-year-old girl. But the joke about how, like, the gay teen and the black girl are going to die just because they're in a horror context was just the right level of tongue-in-cheek and self-referentialness for me. Plus, the kills in this are pretty gnarly so far. I thought the freezer thing was metal and suggests that even if they stay at PG-13, which is what they did for Happy Death Day, which, boo, they're at least upping the creativity. What do you think so far?
I mean, I'm glad you mentioned Happy Death Day again, because it's, same Blumhouse, it's same producers.
Director, yeah.
Just, it comes through in the style. Like, I was watching this trailer with Jenny, and Jenny and I love Happy Death Day franchise. So...
It's super fun, yeah.
It's so much fun. And I think it's the same style, and I'm still not sick of it. You know what I mean? And it's not Groundhog's Day. It's, like you said, it's Freaky Friday. But this looks like a really fun concept. And I think Vince Vaughn is a good choice to go with, because he can sell serial killer for sure.
He obviously does comedy. Yeah, absolutely.
He was a perfect choice for this kind of role. And the teenage sidekicks seem like a lot of fun. They add a lot of energy to this trailer. The music was great. Like you said, the kills were gnarly. Just really good stuff. Like the freezer was great. And the
woodchuck kill.
There was like the buzzsaw. Yeah. Oh, man, that one got me going too. It's fun. It looks like a lot of fun. It doesn't look like it's going to be super surprising, but that's okay. Like Happy Death Day wasn't super surprising either, but it was just fun, man. It's just a fun ride, and that's what I think this one is.
Yeah, Happy Death Day especially. It's like the perfect midnight movie, because it's like, it's short, it's just fun, and it's like just a great movie to like cap a night with.
Yeah.
And so far, this is what it's looking like too. Basically, the only note I have for the trailer is there's never really indication that stopping the killer will like get their bodies to switch back. And I don't necessarily mind it. I just kind of found it odd that the central conflict didn't get a hint at resolution within the trailer. But that said, completely fine with that, just because, well, you'd have to assume at some point they're going to get their bodies switched back. And I guess I really don't need that in the trailer. And you can just give me Vince Vaughn trying to stop a 17-year-old girl from murdering all of her friends. I had fun with it. If you're forced to see it and don't want to, listener, just let me know and I'll swap bodies with you, because this is a need to see for me.
Wouldn't it be wild if it ended and they don't switch bodies and
It's just Vince Vaughn is
the girl has to live as Vince Vaughn for the rest of her life?
Yeah.
I mean, that'd be pretty wild. No, this is a need to see it for me too, as well.
Hey,
man! Cheers!
Cheers! But also stop.
Hey, double need to see. Oh yeah. 55 seconds, Kevin. Almost a full
Hey!
minute. All right,
good.
Unless we go negative, we won't be floundering like crazy for the last trailer.
1 minute and 11 seconds. 111. Make a wish, but only a quarter of what you want, I guess.
I wish I could see Freaky right now.
We got to keep on trekking
You're right.
across this crazy country. Hey, James, can you do me a favor and scare me?
I'm coming over without a mask on.
Ah! Thank you. That has me adequately prepped for our next trailer, which is a film called Scare Me.
Power outage. I'm bored. Let's tell each other scary stories.
Scare Me. Huh! A best-selling author and a best-selling author wannabe tell each other scary stories to pass the time during a power outage, exacerbating the former's ego and the latter's creative frustrations, and the tensions may turn deadly. Also, they invited the pizza guy. So it's basically the story of Mary Shelley and Lord Byron's Haunted Summer, but it's modern day, it's done with a satirical eye on the nature of storytelling, and they also sent it in the winter, so I guess it's a haunted winter? So far, this sounds like a gas. I did appreciate that the storytelling would only occasionally use like a cutaway to like a werewolf hand or something, but for the most part it's the actors literally just acting out the horror of the stories they're telling to scare each other, which adds a healthy layer of silliness to the proceedings. What are you thinking of this so far, my man?
I did not know what to expect going into this trailer. You get halfway through the trailer and it's like you still don't know what to expect going into the second half of the trailer. And it just keeps delivering, even though it looks so low budget, but for the best reasons ever. It's a cabin with some surrounding woods. It's 3 people, and they're basically just acting out things, trying to sell your imagination on it. And all those things are just like really great, but add in the dry humor and chemistry that they all have together. And that was just such a winning combination for me, especially when they brought the pizza guy in and he was just like, I'm here for it. Like, I will bail on this job.
My job.
I will get fired, but that's okay because moments like this don't happen every day. You got to seize the moment.
Exactly.
And he seizes it with those tiny, creepy little baby hands. I was really impressed with this, Kevin. And like you said, them acting things out, especially near the end of the trailer in a montage. It seemed like there was like an interpretive dance scene that also like shifted into a murder scene, but it was all just like pantomiming. It just was, it was incredibly creative. I
will say the ending button does presuppose that those tensions are going to flare perhaps in a more literal sense and a more immediate sense, I suppose. And I'm hoping that's fleshed out a bit more in the film itself. If it is fleshed out more in the film, I do think it would have been nice to have that amped up a little bit more in the trailer itself. I'm thinking more moments like the, hey, why are you holding that fire poker? I think I would have liked a little bit more of that. And I really do love Chris Redd's pizza delivery guy in this. I would have really loved reaction shots from him from the respective stories. Does he agree that the established writer is way better at what's going on? Or like, does he love both of their stories equally? And then the established writer is like, no, you don't get it. It does add a really cool dynamic to just have a third person there. But I wish that they kind of gave that guy a little bit more to do within this trailer.
Totally. I mean, he is definitely the John Polidori of this story.
Which is going deep in these Haunted Summer references.
Such a deep cut for people who might not be aware of the Mary Shelley stuff, but He is, right?
I guess so. Yeah, I guess he's the closest amalgam.
He's gonna end up having like the best scary story of the three of them, though. That's for sure.
I sure hope so. Oh, that'd be such a good punchline, Tales. So here's the deal. Like, in terms of the movie itself, I'm very interested in this. The trailer, as of right now, I did really like. It really did impress me. But at the same time, I really do think, especially because we have that third character who really doesn't get that much aside from, like, one joke involving baby hands, which I agree is funny. But I do wish they had kind of done a little bit more with him. So as of right now, this is a need to see more, albeit a pretty high one.
I'm going to go and push it over the edge. I think this is a need to see it for me. Pause.
And stop!
13 seconds.
Okay. You know, we are coming in under time, and
we're adding little shavings on top of this pile here that we get to add.
Well, how about with this next trailer review, we'll see if we can do this under 90 seconds, because that's what Welcome to the Blumhouse tries to do for 4 movies.
I run my mind. It doesn't run me.
Feeling positive?
I run my mind. And it doesn't run me.
Everyone thinks you're crazy.
Help me. I run my mind. Positive? It doesn't run me.
Welcome to the Blumhouse. It's an anthology trailer. Whoop, wait, hang on. It's a trailer for 4 movies simultaneously, ? Well, they're each being released in October by Blumhouse Pictures. What are they about? Beats the fuck out of me. This trailer's under 90 seconds. So, putting out a trailer for multiple movies simultaneously is a first. But unfortunately, this seems to be an example of why that shouldn't be a thing. They cross-cut between all 4, and it amounts to an atmospheric trailer, which tells you that things are going to seem creepy, which I'd hope so. There's going to be screaming in the movies, which you'd have to figure, and that there will be violence, which is, kind of a hallmark of the genre. Kind of like Mass Hysteria, the super short runtime really hurts it, since we can't build the 4 movies as their own separate entity. As such, all I really got out of this trailer is that there will be 4 Blumhouse movies coming out in October, and I have no idea which one is coming or what it's going to be about. Props to the trailer editor for getting a check, but I think in retrospect they could have just put out an article on a film website to mention this was going to happen, and they didn't have to smush these all together in a spot. But how about you, James?
This is clearly a new marketing tactic. And this is, did you say this is Amazon or Hulu?
Blumhouse. It's just the studio. I don't actually know where these are dropping. That's a good point.
I think it's a streaming service, because they're like, this one October 1st, this one October 3rd, blah blah blah. So it is a very new marketing tactic, and it's jumbled, man. It's a jumbled mess. I came away having a trailer about 4 movies. You'd think you'd get something, and I couldn't tell you anything about any 4 of the movies. That's not a good sign. Now, I understand the tactic is, this is a trailer for this quote-unquote event where you get to watch these 4 movies like a nice week of new Halloween movies. You know what I mean? I think it could have been done better somehow. Nothing stuck with me. This ended, and I'm like, I remember some things in it, but it was so jumbled and disjointed that all I remember is, you have 4 movies coming out. Well, I sure would like to see trailers for all those movies.
Yeah, exactly.
Because this doesn't feel like trailers for their 4 movies. It feels like trailers for an event. Even the event isn't exactly clear, because I just asked you, Kevin, and you're like, I don't know. Did it say if it's on Amazon or something? I don't know, because there was so much thrown at me.
Totally do.
So yeah, I think it's interesting that they're attempting something like this. It's bold. I give them credit for it, but this did not work for me, man. I don't know what any of this is. They gave me the titles for all 4 of them. I couldn't tell you any of the titles either. Never need to see, but like for the event, but not for the 4 movies individually.
Yeah, because we don't know enough about the movies. Yeah, this is also a never need to see for me. And stop!
There we go. 1 minute and 36 seconds.
All right. My man, we have exactly 3 minutes to talk about Grizzly 2.
I think that's enough time, Kevin. Grizzly 2. Should we tell people a little bit about Grizzly 2, Kevin?
No. We'll tell people in the actual review itself. Don't worry. I feel like I can knock that out within like 30 seconds, which gives us ample amount of time to talk about Grizzly 2.
All right,
which we should be doing.
It's very bad. You got the devil bear.
Grizzly 2, a devil bear, that's not my spin, that's what they call it, is on the loose in the woods. Should be okay, right? Just don't go into the woods? Well, there's a fucking New Wave concert going on, so that's off the table. So it's up to a man with a rope and a forklift to save the day. Oh, also, Academy Award-winning actor Laura Dern, Academy Award-winning actor George Clooney, and a fan of cocaine, Charlie Sheen, is in it. This was apparently a sequel to a Grindhouse film that was made in 1983 and is now finally being released this year. And yep, it has all of those actors in it before they exploded and became super famous. And so yeah, this is Grizzly 2. Now, as a personal side, I just want to say that I've actually been watching a lot of Grindhouse films lately, specifically from this era, late 70s, early 80s.
Okay.
And this looks on par with a lot of the movies that I've been watching. So I'm just breaking it to you now. You're going to think that this is going to be amazing, but expect to be bored for about 75% of it. So you'll notice that there's a lot of dead air in the trailer, and you're like, oh, it's probably just for dramatic effect. The entire movie won't be like that. Odds are the entire movie is going to be like that. But you do occasionally get some really goofy stuff, say a devil bear or a surprise New Wave concert, and that might make it worth it for some people. James, how about you? What are you thinking? Is that worth it for you?
I mean, no, based off that description, absolutely not. But I haven't been on a binge of Grindhouse movies from the late 70s, early 80s. So when I saw this trailer, I'm like, this looks fun and weird as hell. But you're right. There's a lot of moments in it where it's like, man, they are really just milking the drama out of these moments. Especially when, Gimli from Lord of the Rings waits a full, 30 seconds and then says, you got the devil bear.
Yep.
Yeah. I mean, I dug it, but if that is 90% of the movie, though, and him lassoing up the devil bear is only 5% of the movie, that's not great. But I mean, the trailer kind of made it look funny, and they threw all those celebrities out in front, and it's God, I want to see all of them get eaten by a devil bear.
Yeah, 100%. Yeah, and bear in mind, that's something where I'm just trying to keep it real for y'all, because I know we have a rosy memory of what we think Grindhouse was. But yeah, a lot of it was just a lot of dead air, just because they were all super fucking low budget. You know, they didn't have the money to go insane the entire runtime.
Totally.
But when it does go insane, oh, it's a blast. I sure hope I don't have to see Grizzly 1 to understand this.
Stop!
This is no! God!
You were so close, Kevin. So close.
I was about to ask you how much time we had left, too.
Oh, bummer. Well, what was your review?
It's a need to see.
I hope it was worth it, Kevin.
Well, what about you? What did you give it?
I was going to give this movie a need to see more.
Okay.
Yeah, because as much as I liked the kitschiness of it, I saw all those celebrities flash in flash frames, just their names, and I caught a glimpse of George Clooney at the beginning. But then I was like, I mean, you should have thrown those people in this trailer more.
Yeah, totally. People who wouldn't be caught dead in this movie dying is absolutely... That's a great trailer now. But you know what? We should probably stop talking about Grizzly 2, because we only gave ourselves 3 minutes, and we went over. Okay, so what happens when we go over time? Well, James and I punish ourselves. We have to watch a movie that James and I both gave double never need to sees to. We'll be doing that again, because here's the deal. That's already happened fairly recently. Right, so this is normally when I would say, all right, buckle up, because we're going to be putting up a poll on Twitter where you can vote and you can pick which never need to see movie that we'll watch.
Deja vu, Kevin.
Yeah, because we did this so recently, and here's the deal, folks. Unless you want us to, really dig back and be like, hey, do you want us to watch Anonymous? And you're like, what the fuck is that? I'm looking at our scorecard right now. Apparently, that's a trailer that we both gave a double never need to see to back in, 2016 when we started doing this. Obviously, that doesn't sound fun. So what we're going to do is we're just going to pick... Because it's Halloween, we're going to go with Ghosts of War, or is the other movie that we have to watch. Because we definitely gave that double never need to sees, and that is definitely a horror movie. And we just feel like that would be a good thematic pairing with Deep Blue Sea 3.
That's right.
So ideally, the next time we do this, we'll have enough double never need to sees in which you can actually vote on this. We got to give ourselves some time to build up that stock, and ideally, we have to give ourselves time to build up that stock and to actually hit on time with this segment, which seems to be a real problem for us.
I mean, at the moment, we're following through with what we say. But, you know, it is our podcast, Kevin. We can change the rules anytime we want to. And, like, let's say, because I love this segment. I love cross country so much that it's like, if we keep doing this a lot and we keep running out of never need to see movies to punish ourselves with, we can come up with something else. Like, oh, we got to take a shot of ranch dressing soda.
My stomach just hurt thinking about that.
Sorry, ladies and gentlemen and non-binary listeners, that is an actual thing.
Yeah, we've done that. All right, so what did you all think of all these trailers? Are you excited for Grizzly 2? Are you like, no, I want to watch all 4 movies and welcome to the Blumhouse, and I know everything that's happening in each of those movies? Are you like, please stop calling the space worm in Dune Buttmouth? That's not his name. His name is fill in the blank. You can let us know about any of those things and more by reaching out to us. You can do that via email if you want a longer missive. Maybe you're like, actually, his name isn't Buttmouth. This is his name and 200 pages of lore about him. You can send us an email if you so choose. I'm probably just going to skim something like that, though, just a forewarning. But you can send that over to trailerhitchmailbox@gmail.com. Otherwise, if you want to have a shorter missive and you're already on Facebook anyway, why not? Just search Trailer Hitch on Facebook. You can find us there. Otherwise, if you want to tweet at us, you can send us something at TrailerHitchPod. Otherwise, if you want to take a picture and let us know what your thoughts are on any of what we just talked about this evening, you can send us a picture on Instagram at Trailer Hitch Podcast. Otherwise, you can comment on the very YouTube video that you might be listening to right now. And while you're here, hey, why don't you go ahead and subscribe to us, like us. Hey, while you do that there, you should also do that on Apple Music. You can like and subscribe and rate and review us on that, which helps us find more listeners. That's rad. And if you're like, well, Apple products, what is this, 2010? We've moved beyond that. We're all PC all the time now, baby. Well, cool. We're on Stitcher, too. You can find us there, and you can do all of those things on that platform as well. Before we go, we would like to thank Danny Schmitz from Lost in a Name for the amazing intro song that you hear at the top of every episode. We would like to thank Rachel Ashley for all the amazing cover art that you see on all of our various social medias. You can find her work at Mighty Creations on Instagram. We would also like to thank Jenny Hawks, our Bad Movie and social media correspondent, for her sterling work week in and week out. And we would also like to thank Casey Clowers for the amazing outro song, which you'll be hearing momentarily. Unless James has something to add. How are you feeling, bud? Are you happy with with the spooky cross country that we did, the crazy cross crazy country? I can't remember what I called it.
Dude, you crushed all of those. Those were all brilliant. And yes, I'm feeling great about this cross country trip because I'm ready for Halloween now. Give me a bowl of chili. Give me some like hot beverages.
Wait, chili?
Chili is a Halloween staple, dude.
In what part of the country? I also grew up in Wisconsin.
Part of the country.
Okay. All right. No, don't get me wrong. That sounds like a lovely tradition. I'm just letting you know that is specific to your family. Maybe not. Maybe write in and let us know if you're like, oh, bruh, it's all chili all the time for Halloween.
Chili is Halloween.
I just scoop myself a big bowl, watch Texas Chainsaw Massacre, and regret it.
Halloween is chili season, my good friend. Like I am all about it. But no, this was a lovely episode, Kevin, and I'm ready for the holidays. Let's get it started, huh?
All right, let's do it.
You can't mount holy sails without a sailor stitch, and you can't haul your stuff without a trailer hitch. Trailer hitch.
I conditioned my hair for the first time today in like a month.
No shit, how'd that go?
It's so fluffy. It's too fluffy. Do you ever get that feeling? You ever like feel that way about your hair? It's like it's too fluffy and it feels like every single strand is everywhere. That's a testament to I need a fucking haircut.
Hey man, you're telling me. I dunked my fucking hair into soup a couple of weeks ago. God, that just bummed me out. And it's hit the point where
just out of bread, Kevin.
No, it was such an innocent mistake. I pour my soup into my bowl, and I went, oh, there's just a little bit too much soup in this bowl. To avoid a spillage, I'm going to go ahead and give it a slurp. Arguably the best part of having soup. And I leaned in, and all of a sudden, half my hair smells like chicken broth. And it just ruined an entire bowl. Like, it just made me sad.
And your hair.
And my hair, yeah. I mean, like, I can wash that. I can't get the soup back after that. Yeah, it's one of those things where I finally reached out to a barber.
Well, good, because otherwise I was going to get you a soup hairnet.
Honestly, for the time being, might be necessary. But